Hello and welcome back. We are continuing our Sweden into Scandinavia run. Last episode, we talked a little bit about the local industrialization and how it's going to be considerably worse in patch 1.5, and how the strategy of, bifurcating, being industrial in one state and then resource-oriented in another is not going to be that effective. But this episode, we are going to be pushing economies of scale, specifically on the iron mines, the logging camps here, trying to get them up to at least 21, and then over here on the tooling workshops and this sort of thing, we will probably be pushing pretty hard up on these as well, now that we've gotten railroads as part of our early industrial effort. We also, have been trying to make moves for getting people into our customs union specifically, and looking to do a Diplo expansion. We just need to get people into the Swedish market. We also did quite a lot of effort for expanding, and getting a bunch of native interests through conquest in a bunch of areas, and I think this is going to become more meta in 1.5. It might not be themey, but I think that this is going to be something that is very strong consideration with reverse sways. And we also talked about how you could exile a moderate in order to kind of force a market liberal specifically on your landowner, and how this can be kind of a useful strategy. And so this is mainly kind of what we focused on last episode. This episode, we are going to be trying to finish getting Scandinavia formed up. If we can find a way to fight Russia, something like this. We do see that they only have a power projection of 580. We are on 286, so we're not that much weaker than them. And I think if we swap up to skirmish, which we've already done, I think we're probably still on adjustment. Maybe we just need to add a little bit more military, and we can try and find a spot to go after them. So we are damaging relations with them, going to look to either release or transfer Finland, and then pull Denmark into our customs union. We are researching nationalism, and so this is what we're going to be focused on this episode, as well as, kind of later on, dealing with one major sort of weakness of Sweden, which is that they don't have enough pops. And so we're going to try and find solutions for this. 3 million is not a lot of pops. We're probably going to run out of labor this episode, but we'll see. One means by which we can long-term expand and gain access to more pops is expanding the customs union overall. We do have an adjacency with Persia. We're going to take a look at what we might be able to do with them, and try and see what goods they have shortages of, this type of thing, and what goods they also have gluts of, like alcohol, which is very common. They are adjacent to us, and so we will probably be able to set up pretty profitable routes, and then also increase our trade volume. Now, Persia, we discriminate against their pops on the basis of race, so they might not be the very best person, but we're improving relations with them, and we're going to improve relations with most of the people in the New World over here, rather than going after conquest on them, although conquest would also be reasonable, and look to maybe pull them into our customs union. As long as they stay discriminatory, they won't siphon off our pops, and we can siphon off theirs. We won't have that strong a pull. We will be much stronger if we can get Europeans in our customs union, and move on to a law system other than national supremacy. This will be quite useful. So we might be looking for Spain. Spain's probably too big, currently major power, but, something like Portugal might be more our speed, and we do have an adjacency with Portugal as well down here, so we can trade with them pretty well. So let's also take a look at the Portuguese market, and this is kind of going to be step one, and maybe trying to, for example, we're going to export to them some of that, and export to them some of this. It is profitable, and then we're going to take a look what they have a glut of, and they do have a glut of sugar, so we could probably import it from their market. Looks like it's not quite profitable. That's fine. Let's see if we can import this, and this is going to be kind of a play pattern that is important, for long-term, trying to get people into your customs union so you can siphon off their pops. We're also going to improve relations with them, and we do have quite a lot of Diplo available from rivaling a whole bunch of little people who will probably become ineligible in the near future, but for now, like Mecklenburg-Strauss, but for now we are making use of it and generating a lot of this Diplo, which we will hopefully use to good effect. You see, we're improving relations with a whole ton of people, and hopefully we will be able to, try and customs union people a little bit more aggressively moving forward. So we have more than doubled construction since the very start of the episode. This is largely off a swap to laissez-faire that happened, late on in the last episode, and this is allowing us to, make this, just cranked up construction a whole bunch at the very beginning. And while it says we're up 5k a tick, it's important to realize that the investment pool is draining, and we expected that once we passed laissez-faire. And anytime you're evaluating kind of of what your true balance is, you have to do this number plus this number. And so in this case, we're at around minus 20k, and we're going to eat through this investment pool, and then we'll be in a big deficit. But I'm hoping / thinking we will be able to build into this, and so we're just trying to juice up our economy, you know, at a good pace while that is going on. And so this is going to allow us to, you know, build out faster. And as long as our, you know, build speed is outstripping, why is this? Why are these PMs no good? So we're gonna make those swaps. Yikes. But as long as we can outstrip, you know, kind of these changes in, we can outstrip a little bit how much we're constructing versus how much is going into this, and still have, you know, a nice buffer. We are a major power, and we're a major power on laissez-faire. We can afford to be in the negative, so we're going to look to crank it up to having maybe a 25% deficit and increase construction. Now, on the top of this, though, we're expecting to run out of labor very quickly. As we mentioned earlier, we only have 150k peasants and 40k unemployed. And so when we hit this, we will have dual kind of force. And so while we have managed to crank up to 80 construction here, unless we do something significant to solve the population problem in this episode, we're probably not going to look to push 100, I don't think. We are going after Guatemala here so we can have adjacency to Mexico, because we want to be able to trade with Mexico and maybe help Mexico out in the event of a fight. Or actually, we would want that in the Pacific now, wouldn't we? We'd rather have this in the Pacific because the US will declare war on them in the Pacific. But we might want to defend Mexico, do something like this. Again, we're not really making money, we're losing 20k here, but we should be able to build into it. So this is a very strong event, especially if you're very small, and as popular playwright endorses reforms, which can give you enactment chance, pop group attraction. And what is really good if you're small is this plus 20 prestige, because we would love to pay a lower interest rate once we're in the negative, and we would if we were a GP and we see current prestige is 180. This will give us plus 20 prestige permanently, which is going to really help in that regard. Also, the reason why our PMs were kind of dirty on a few of those is they just had built since we had started the game. We hadn't built them before, and we hadn't been able to swap, you know, kind of earlier on when they were available, or sorry, when they first became available, because we did not yet have like the furniture or the groceries built. Now, I think we're going to probably need to be a little bit aggressive with expanding this out, because we are going to create quite a demand for coal pretty quick here, because we're also probably going to be using labor-saving PMs, you know, on that front. And now here, we can trade overland with Mexico. We also get a native interest, so continuing on kind of with that strategy, we have a ton of native interests in Central America. But very critically, now we can trade with Mexico using 0 overland routes, and so this will be, you know, pretty good. I don't think we are producing this, so we can't send that out as an export, but we'll just quickly look, and then we'll quickly look on the other end, and we see, hey, this is really cheap. We probably can't import it because they don't have enough sell orders. We already have really cheap sugar, so we can't do this profitably, but maybe we can import liquor. Looks like we can import liquor pretty well, and so we're going to continue to do this type of, ooh, maybe dyes too? Can we import dyes? No, not very profitably. We'll also just kind of take a look at our route and look for, see if we have any that aren't productive. We see that this export route of this to Mexico is not profitable, so we'll do this, and I think we'll delete this down, and then of course we will kind of take a look. You know, the whole point of this is we're going to try and be able to pull people into our customs union better. We see we can with an obligation to Denmark. I think we just won't go that route just quite yet, and we'll instead look to make them happier with us. They can tick above amicable or amicable, and so I think what we are trying to do is we'll see exactly what stuff looks like once we're on nationalism, and if we can pull Lubeck in. But we are going to want to start thinking about also expanding the military, which is a bit of a problem here, and the reason why is we want to be able to fight Russia, right? And so maybe we just take a look, where do we have a ton of labor, and this is currently unincorporated. We have a lot of labor here. They will have a hard time employing officers specifically, but maybe we want to kind of do a little bit of a dirty one here and, you know, just add like 20 or so battalions here, because we are really going to be running out very soon over here. And also, since they're unincorporated, or they're incorporated now, so we won't be able to Space Marine it out over here. But I think that this will be useful for us, you know, just to add a couple barracks here and maybe be able to get something done. We will have the secondary equipment here modifier for at least a year, but you know, we got quite a lot of Q to work through, and then maybe with 50 skirmish we could do something about Russia. We're going to stop damaging relations though. We kind of don't want them to be negative. We just want to tick them down low enough that we can fight them when the time becomes right. We do want to make sure we're improving relations with them. It looks like we do have good relations with them, just so we can try and make them support us once we get on nationalism. I lied. We're just going to pull Denmark into our customs union using the obligation. I don't think it's worth it for us to wait for some like obscure chance at maybe protectorating them. We'll instead kind of lock this in, and now our customs union will have grown quite a bit. We are looking to get the last bit of Schleswig-Holstein in terms of getting these guys to market. We will have to get them to change to our customs union, but we're bankrolling them out on that front. Hopefully, well, they might continue to be wary, so we might absolve. This will improve relations by 30, and so maybe what we want to do is we want to actually wait until it's closer to the cap before absolving, because I believe you can absolve it over this 80, and so we just wait for it to tick up to 80. If they're still wary, we'll absolve up to 110. I believe that's how this works, where this is how you get a bonus. Also, guaranteed liberty is going to pass soon, and so I think we're going to look to discriminate less after this, mainly for the purpose of, you know, being able to siphon off pops from people within our customs union. So we have a absolute ton of turmoil here in Versat, which of course is going to give us huge negative state construction efficiency. Now it is, we do have law enforcement, and so there's a couple ways we can go about this to kind of free this up, because we are going to probably want to start building here soon, because we do have a lack of coal. Not just quite yet, but you know, we will probably want to use violent suppression, which will give minus state penalties from turmoil. And on top of that, I think proactively, we are going to want to build a little bit of extra on the law enforcement and maybe on the home affairs, or a little bit extra bureaucracy. But since we don't actually need to do that quite yet, because we have a PM that we haven't started utilizing, which is standardized filing system, so this is going to give us a little bit of extra juice, and we see that it's going to cost 34 per rank, so we can afford to go up pretty high on these. I think at the back of the queue, we will add a little bit of extra admin, but we should be able to manage this, and this is going to help us out quite a lot, you know, knowing that we are going to want to be building there. We still have a little bit of a queue to clear, especially the coal, getting the remaining coal mines out in Scania, but once we finish these coal mines, you know, then we're done with coal mines, in terms of our starting land here in Sweden, which of course is a problem for Sweden, but never fear, the combination of increased policing and hopefully decreasing, you know, radical pops via, you know, employing them up and, you know, stop discriminating on religion and stop discriminating against some of them on the basis of culture, like this type of stuff, and guaranteed libs will allow us to like better use kind of construction here, because again, we're going to need to use this place for some coal. Alright, so a couple things. First of all, we have just managed to clip the fact that we are now going to be losing money or going into a deficit here. Again, I still think we can build into it. We're not minus 20k anymore, we're about minus 15k to 10k. This is how it's been oscillating. I think we can build into this, but notably on 1.5, when you make the swap eventually, it is important to note that the overall building costs are way higher, so this is going to be more difficult. So we'll take a look at our updated nation formation, see if we have any unification candidates. It looks like we do not. And so maybe we don't qualify as a unification candidate. Why not? So I guess we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way then, and we're going to have to dominion and or protectorate all these subjects, because they are not going to be supporting us. So Denmark is in our customs union, and so now we're going to have to think about whether we want to bankroll and protectorate them, or try and do it a little bit more the old-fashioned way. I think we're going to try and do Finland the old-fashioned way, and then this guy, I think Lubeck is going to be, So we have an obligation with them. I think we're going to absolve it right now, improving relations, but I was under the impression that we would have a little bit of a different avenue here, and we would be able to do this diplomatically. Maybe it just needs to update, something like this. We are going after Venezuela here, which is going to give us a native interest up here, but I can't remember which one is their capital. Okay, it's there. We're just going to triple land them and get in pretty comfortably. We haven't built up our military yet. I don't think we've gotten... Oh, I guess we maybe have cleared that out of the queue. Building up the military down in South Africa, but we are not using any of those boyos just yet. But why don't we recruit a general so we don't forget the fact that we do have them. Or I guess we don't have them yet. They're recruiting up currently. We'll recruit... Well, we don't really want to roll a protectionist. So we have a pacifist here, an authoritarian here. I guess maybe we'll do this guy, and we will delete down our barracks here, because we won't be needing that. But our strategy will need to be a little bit different. I did not double check exactly. I did not go ahead of time and, you know, do the nation formation already. And the fact that we're not a unification candidate seems to me mean that we either have to, yeah, so these guys, we will just face the enemies from Lubeck and the Grand Duchy of Finland, it says. Which is... I wonder why it's only facing Finland and it's not facing all of them. But we're going to need pan-nationalism to do a unification play, and maybe this is going to be how we do it. But we do see that Denmark is not going to be part of that unification play, so maybe that means they just let us have it because they are in our customs union, something like this. We'll have to see how that shakes out when we get to it. So we see we are starting to run into labor problems. You know, this is expensive enough to employ. The weekly balance is profitable, but we're out of labor in this province up here, and we're going to see this pretty much across the board. And so as much as possible, we're going to try and swap on PMs. The railroads aren't too expensive. We are going to increase the price, but this is definitely going to increase the price of coal specifically quite a bit. I think furniture is a little bit more efficient on water tube. I can't remember. We're going to swap a couple of them. We don't have all of them swapped. I think we're going to go after, you know, swapping on these a little bit. We're again trying to save labor. So even though this doesn't make money, as long as we're not running a shortage of transportation, this frees up labor to work in the other buildings because we are noticing an increasing problem. Also, this is why we didn't have that army earlier, or access to that army, because this was part of a rev, which is why it was no longer in the queue. Let's take a look. I think that it resets. Yeah, so the turmoil is down, and so now we will actually be able to build there fairly efficiently, but we will re-put into the queue, building up to a level 20 barracks, because we do want to kind of slowly begin working our way towards maybe something we can do against Russia, this type of thing. We're going to get in on Venezuela, which means the interest that we have declared up there will no longer be necessary, because we will have a native interest. We were going to go after New Granada, but then the relations were too good. We might still go after New Granada here. We don't have a lot of infamy, and this is a relatively good one. Looks like we're just left and right really kind of dealing with a lot of these revs, but we should be able to put this down and find a way to keep expanding. Although notably, I just wanted to point out as well, we are pushing the economies of scale on this building. Now, even though it can't employ up, which is a little bit of a problem, you know, and we're going to have labor problems kind of everywhere. Ooh, a little bit of a shortage ski. I think we'll just kick a couple of these to the top of the queue. Again, now, you know, it is becoming a little bit of a throttle on the coal, so we're just going to actually put 2 coal mines at the front of the queue and just try and keep everything on a little bit of an even keel here. Okay, so we get our negative discrimination on, or our lack of discrimination on, both passing cultural exclusion and separation of state. We will need to get rid of some consumption tax here, but let's just take a look before we kind of get a tick. I assume that this is going to be one of our places with relatively high population. We do see that it has incoming migration, but will we see a little bit of an uptick? And we do instantly see an uptick. Now, these uptick is largely probably coming not interior, but probably from people in our customs union, and so this is going to help slow the negative effect of, you know, us having very significant, you know, pop problems, especially here where we really don't have a lot of pop, really kind of very dependent on this migration. And in fact, it might even make sense for us to use the Edict, the migration edict here, because this is also where we are trying to push economies of scale. And so if we can't employ up, then we either have to build somewhere else, or not make use of the fact that we can really push throughput particularly high here because we have Scandinavian forest encouraged industry and also, you know, EOS. And so we want to build here, we want to get the people here, and it does present a little bit of a negative situation. We are, of course, still going for egalitarianism from last episode. You know, a lot's kind of happened in the first little opening salvo here, but we wanted to think, you know, if we want to get on pan-nationalism relatively early, what should our way forward look like? And I think it's going to involve us, you know, going for both labor movement and Quinine relatively early. Actually, let's probably go for egalitarianism into Quinine and then into labor movement, and then we might ahead of time go for pan-nationalism, depending on how things look. Alright, we are getting a few rumbles on with going after, you know, Transvaal, with Portugal looking to interfere. I think we'll even move one of these guys on over to this front, considering Portugal actually assigned in some guys. And then also we're fighting the USA here. Not here in Africa, but the USA over here to try and help out Mexico. And of course we get our landing in here. And so we'll just send this guy over, Red Rover, and hopefully this will allow us to preserve the structural integrity of Mexico, as well as we were kind of hoping they would join our customs union while we were at war with them. Although I don't think it gives as positive kind of situation. Maybe we don't want to really bankroll them, so maybe we do a trade agreement using an owing and obligation, which will allow us to tick up, I believe, to plus 80 after they say yes. After they say yes, I believe it will allow us to tick up to plus 80, so hopefully from there, we can get them into our customs union sometime down the road, because we don't quite really want to pay for enactment time is always nice. We don't really want to pay for that. Also, you know, we're starting to still pull out from kind of where we were. We're now at minus 11k-ish. Again, we're not really in a position where we want to add construction, but of course the fronts reassign, right? We couldn't have the fronts not reassigned. That wouldn't be allowed. But we will have a couple, you know, relatively big wars for us. Maybe we could even lean this way and get them to sway us for something in China. And, you know, the U.S. is putting it on us, but I think we're going to allow them to tick, or allow Mexico to tick down the USA a little bit faster than the USA is going to be ticking down them. I think we're going to take enactment time and just look to cruise through, switching on to public schools instead. You know, we went egalitarianism, but so here's the thing. In order to pass proportional taxation, one of two things needs to happen. We either need to get the trade unions really strong, or we need to swap back to land-based taxation and then swap forward to proportional. Since we're starting to run out of labor anyways, and often this precipitates the trade unions getting strong, I think we're just going to stick with it. But there are going to be two texts that are really important for getting the trade unions strong, and one of them is labor movement. So we're going to do labor movement first, and then the next one, if I recall correctly, is human rights. This will give like plus 50%, you know, trade unionist clout. It's like a hidden modifier, or trade unionist participation, something like this. I forget exactly, or attraction. And I believe human rights is the other one. They are hidden modifiers, and so I think we might do something to that effect. And then it's probably too much to resist going mechanized workshops before coming back and going for human rights. Maybe we don't even want human rights. Maybe we want pan that after this. But this is kind of where we'll set in here. But the wars are going pretty well. We of course do want to annex Transvaal because tasty goldfields, which will, you know, of course, help us out a lot. And then we will maybe be able to get war reps off of what's this? Revolution, yeah, that's fine. We will maybe be able to get tasty war reps off of, you know, Portugal here, which will be also nice. We didn't put anything else in on them, and, you know, we'll see how this U.S.-Mexico thing shakes out, because it is looking close, but we're not going to look to, like, full mobilize just to help Mexico win this war. Looks like Daddy and Daddy are fighting again with Austria and Prussia. Again, we hope that Prussia doesn't get leadership, because I don't think they can form the North German Fed without solving the Schleswig-Holstein question. But we don't want to see some situation where they annex Lubeck, and Lubeck is not going to be coming over to us. So this is something mildly concerned about. I don't think this is how the mechanics work. It's nice that they're protective towards us, but you know, we do have to be a little bit worried. I do believe Russia is involved, and so if Russia starts getting clapped while fighting Prussia here, which I find very unlikely, although you know, we do see France is involved as well. Again, this big four, all the four dads are fighting. Someone please help. If Russia starts really getting clapped, this might be a good opportunity to transfer Finland, you know, kind of on the eve of us getting pan-nationalism or something like this. And so we'll see if we can do that. We're looking to land Portugal to enforce on them first, because I think that this is a little bit more of the more important war. But once we're in on Portugal, I think we're going to trade agreement. Yeah, sure. Once we're in on Portugal, in fact, why don't we see if we can get trade agreements with some of the people we're trying to pull into our customs union. I don't think we want to use an obligation to get Persia in, but Persia is one of the ones we're kind of interested in. We'll just take minus their political strength, but once we finish and enforce here on Portugal, we'll redirect everyone to kind of pushing in on the USA, something like this. It does look like we have full occupied them, and so we'll just move these guys, gentlemen, on over, and look to push kind of over here. I think we're just going to let, you know, Mexico get pushed here. They aren't doing a very good job. Russia's not helping them very much, which certainly makes a lot of sense. We're not going to go for that. Yeah, Russia is involved in this war as well, but they're not committing a whole lot of troops, which makes sense because they have people on their border. And also, we want Prussia to lose this, unless it's for Germany. Are you forming Germany here? I don't think we want them to form Germany. Let's see what this is, actually. Make peace. Germany, yeah, it's just over leadership. So we would prefer that Austria get leadership here. You get a very strange peace deal from, you know, the AI, where they are trading New Mexico for Texas, Utah, and opening the American market. I mean, I guess. But that is a very strange peace deal. And, well, I guess this... I mean, Mexico overall has gained territory in that one, and I guess we're pretty fine with that. We couldn't get them into our customs union. This is something we do want to check periodically, but we just checked it, and nothing's really doing there. Hopefully we'll get in and enforce kind of on here them soon. But they're calling it an obligation, Mexico, in order to get an alliance, so we're just going to say yes, and we're kind of relatively okay with this, because we can defend them a little bit better in this situation. We could push this forward one, but I think we're just going to double our enactment chance, because it's 18 doubling up to 33. I think mathematically is very similar to, you know, having to roll 2 at 33 is similar to having to roll 18 once, and this will save us a good deal of approval. And then with Mexico, if we're in an alliance, are you going to be more likely to invite to customs union? No. Oh well. Hopefully, I mean, this can still tick up positively, and it's ticking up at a good rate because we have both the trade agreement and the alliance, and we enforced on war reps, and so that is coming along quite nicely. Still haven't gotten this guy into the customs union yet. Hoping we can sometime soon. We are bankrolling him, so we're hoping to pip that, but more importantly, drop this cautious at some point in time. And so now we need to have a think. Can we fight Russia here? So the thing is I don't think we actually develop a border with Russia. If we, you know, primary war goal here, open market, and then we look to release them and do something else, and then I think we could defend against landings with this, and then we could just land as needed in Ingria by triple landing, something like this. Maybe we can do it. It is a little bit of a push strategy, but I think we could do it, and we are coming up on, you know, getting pan-nationalism in the near future here. So I think we'll have a think, and then maybe go for it, or maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay, we actually see here, if we declare on them directly, Finland joins immediately. I had forgotten that this subject type automatically joins, and there is not a good subject for us to declare war on because we cannot get to Kishijus. So if we declare anything on Kishijus, it's not going to be enforceable. And same idea with Serbia, unless we somehow manage to sway Austria, then technically we could get to Serbia. And so if we don't declare war on one of these other subjects, Finland will be involved in the war, and if Finland's involved in the war, there's a land corridor here, and I don't think we win, if there is a land corridor. Notably, we are up to the point where we're making money, and this is off of two things here. The decreased interest rate, because we just became a GP, but also coming down here, the goldfields here in Transvaal are doing a lot of weight pulling, which is one of the reasons why we annexed them, of course. And so I don't think it's going to be possible for us to go for Russia as much as we would like, unless we somehow add a whole bunch of military. Again, they're on 677, we're on 252. We would have, Mexico to help us, but Mexico is going to do a whole lot of not much, I fear. And so instead we're going to need to find another war that's a little bit better, unless we could... Actually, does it say that it's likely that someone... So we could just save and roll it and see if anyone would be willing to join on our side. Maybe we'll do that because we can't do it without a GP joining us and a GP joining us and not joining Russia, something like this. So maybe we'll just take a look and see what that looks like. So very classic Diploplay experience here, where we swayed the UK, they joined our side, and then they immediately left our side. So I don't think this is going to be possible here, and so we're just probably going to take a reload. I mean, I guess if it's... So we also have to fight Austria too here as well. I'm guessing Austria won't be that involved. I mean, maybe we can swing it. I very much doubt it. And we haven't even put in, the war goal for... for Finland, transfer subject, I'm thinking. Oh, I guess we would just have to liberate Finland. But maybe this should have been the initial war goal anyways, is liberate Finland instead of open the Russian market. That way we don't actually have to fight Serbia and this other guy, but this is overall not too big a deal. But I wish it was easier to tell what was going to go on, going into a diplomatic play. I mean, maybe we could still sway, offer unification leadership. Jesus, it never ends. We can offer an obligation to Spain, but I think we're just going to take a reload here. Really wish that the diplomatic play system was a little bit more, had a little bit more transparency, or alternatively, you didn't absolutely get wrecked, in the event of, them putting in war goals on you. We're going to lose, Peru, Bolivia, it's going to get transferred. And so... yeah, I wish it was a little bit more transparent, but hopefully we see that in 1.6 coming up somewhat soonish, next spring. So we just put in a bunch of trade orders, and of course swapped back to the purple UI, which it seems like whenever we swap to a mod, it turns off our theming, or whenever we update the patch. Gonna try and remember to keep it on this. This is for 1.4, and I actually really like it a lot, but we swapped up a whole bunch more trade routes and stuck those in, so that should help our profitability, help our bottom line. We did ramp up construction in recent times here, so that we're about triple the starting construction amount, and then we are also finishing these fertilizer plants, which I don't think we had any of before, but we want to get our boom booms going, and so we're going to kick those straight to ammonia process, and then we're going to turn our boom booms on. I feel like this has been overall a very productive episode, because we've really added kind of a lot of stuff. This is probably going to be too many boom booms usage, a little bit too much. Let's take a look at these here. These do have to employ up. Really, the crux of the problem here for us is becoming very acute, and that is labor. We have 100,000 peasants. They're not all in the best spots. I think that most of them are here in Transvaal, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 70,000 are here. And it's not like there's a ton of pop here anyways, but 70,000 of them are here. And we cannot really construct that effectively here because of the state construction efficiency malus. We could, of course, course, take off one of the... I think that the road maintenance here is probably not needed. We're not necessarily going to be constructing too much in these places for a little bit because, again, huge labor shortage. So what we can do is we can get rid of a couple of those decrees and instead put down road maintenance here, do the little authority trick, and kind of set ourselves up. Ooh, can we not use violent suppression here? We have guaranteed libs, so we cannot violently suppress. That seems reasonable. Alas, the one of the downsides of guaranteed libs. So I think that maybe we kick this up and then put in another consumption tax and look to support it this way, because again, we're not going to be building too much in Svealand. Maybe we will, but currently they do have pop problems. We are still siphoning off people from our market, and so this will help out, especially as we expand the market, which is one of the things we've been doing this episode. We also expanded out, got a few more subjects, made some moves. I think critically the most important thing is tripling construction. We started the episode on 39 construction and we got up to 121. We're just going to see if anyone can join our customs union. The answer is no. But I think that this is going to be really good. I think we're kind of poised in a good position to maybe form Scandinavia next episode. It's looking like there's no unification candidates. I'm more used to the German one. This is still a major formation, and so we can do the launch unification play once we have pan-nationalism, so we're going to move in that direction. But we see that we would face just Finland and Lubeck, and if we have to face just Finland and Lubeck and Russia doesn't do anything about this, if this is if it works as it says it works, then pan-nationalism is going to be really good for us. But labor movement will be too, mainly because this will help to de-radicalize the trade unionists, which are currently not very strong, and they're in a good position to become strong. They have really strong bonuses, and we do want them in order to pass per capita taxation. So this is kind of what's coming up this episode, or next episode. This one's really been about tripling construction. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and other than that, have a good day.